My name is Omar Muhammad, and I'll be moderating this webinar. Based on the questionnaire we had in our last webinar, where attendees voted to repeat the topic of medical devices registration, I would like to welcome you all to the second webinar of medical devices regulation in 2020. It will be presented by Engineer Abdul Latif Al Nasser and Ms. Saeed Al Jabri. A few housekeeping details, and then I will turn things over to our presenter. We have enabled the Q&A box located at the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to raise any question during and after the presentation, where it will be then answered by the speakers. And in order to take advantage of this time, I would like to kindly encourage you to raise questions that are related to today's topic only. Feel free to send us an email on medical_devices@nhra.ph for further information. We will have an interactive session at the end of the webinar where you will be able to ask the speaker directly by clicking on Raise Hand button. There is no need to take photos of the presentation as it will be recorded and posted on our website. As this is a repeated session, there will be no certificate of attendance. However, if you need to have an evidence of your participation, please send us an email and we can confirm your attendance. Please visit GCC MedTech website to get more information about the upcoming first GCC Summit for Medical Devices agenda and speakers. Now that we are done with our housekeeping, I would like to welcome our speaker, Engineer Abdul Latif. The floor is all yours. I hope you benefit as much as possible from this webinar.
Everyone, welcome to the Medical Devices Regulations webinar. Today's topic is medical device registration, and I will be covering the new changes and updates regarding the medical device registration guideline and form, as well as explaining all the requirements and what do NHRA look at when reviewing each required document. As you all know, medical devices registration is currently on hold and it will restart on the 9th of August 2020. First of all, medical devices registration is not mandatory at the moment to import items to the Kingdom of Bahrain. However, registering the medical device helps to facilitate the importation process, as the registration license will replace most importation requirements. Only NHRA registered authorized representatives can apply for medical device registration. All medical devices should be registered regardless of its risk classification. Registration is not linked to importation process, whether HS code is regulated by NHRA or not. In importation, there are certain HS codes that fall under NHRA medical devices regulations. And any other devices that don't fall under one of these HS codes doesn't need NHRA approval for importation. However, in registration it's different, as all medical devices should be registered. Registration fees is not implemented yet. All registered medical devices will be listed and published along with their authorized representatives on NHRA website. All documents submitted should be in English or Arabic language. Healthcare facilities will be instructed to purchase only registered medical devices to ensure the patient's safety in the future. The price details that the applicant will include while filling the form will be confidential and used for study purposes only. Accessories and spare parts of the medical device will not be registered. Only the main device will be registered, and to import the accessories, the applicant needs to include evidence from the manufacturer linking the accessory to the main device in the importation request. All documents with an expiry date should have a validity of at least 1 year from the date of applications, and only listed medical devices can be applied for medical devices registration. All right, so what do we mean by listing? Listing is to list all medical devices that you intend to import in the future. And a circular was sent on the 19th March 2018 regarding listing, which can be found in the website. And I will also show it in the next slide. So the applicant needs to be NHRA registered, be required to fulfill the classification criteria issued by NHRA Medical Devices Regulations Department, depending on the applied product. At the time of applying, if we think it needs classification, the applicant will be informed to apply for classification to make sure that the product is in fact a medical device. Finally, I would like to announce that NHRA have assigned a company called MedSpiro to be the official private agency for fast-track communication and delivery of services for medical devices registration. This means that now if the applicants wants to fast-track the duration of registering their medical device, they can apply through MedSpiro, who will receive their applications and required documents after making sure that all requirements are fulfilled. And then NHRA will have the final review, which will be done on a shorter time frame. For example, let's say the regular time for NHRA to review the application is actually 8 weeks. However, with the help of MedSpiro, we can minimize the time up to half or less, depending on the applications. You can find more details on MedSpiro website, where you can also find their contact details and different ways of communicating, such as communicating by email, by telephone, or even by live chat for any of your inquiries. You can use the same channels to book appointments too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Abdul-Latif. And now we will move.
Engineer Amar, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Svetlana, please, if you can review the video, because I think it was skipped to the end of it. The process of the registration was not viewed. So if you can please replay the video again, and maybe we can go to the minute 2 or 3. After that a little bit. Okay.
Right. And I will also show it in the next slide. So the applicant needs to be NHRA registered authorized representative and needs to have an authorization letter from the manufacturer for the medical devices that will be included in the listing. How is it done? The listing Excel sheet can be downloaded from our website, and it will include some basic medical device details that I will also show on the next slide. After filling it, the list should be sent through email to NHRA Medical Devices Regulations email, which is medical_devices@nhra.bh. Please note that there will be no feedback regarding the listing given to NHRA. And here you can find the medical devices listing sheet, which includes some basic medical devices details, such as the local supplier, manufacturer, medical device group, device name, model, serial number, legal manufacturer, installation date, if it has been installed already in the Kingdom of Bahrain, country of origin, and the end user name. On the right, you can see the circular also that was published in 2018. Now, for the new changes in the registration process, there is a new guideline and form that has been published in the website last month for public comments. Since we are constrained with the webinar time, I will try to go through the main updates as quickly as possible. The guideline and form has been updated in terms of wording and some terminologies as well as definitions. And we have added some already implemented regulations that was missing from the previous guideline or needed to be updated. Previously, there was an SFDA and non-SFDA routes. However, this has been cancelled and we only have one route of application and requirements. There are new changes in the requirements, which I will preview after the form and explain it in more details later. New bundling flowcharts have been introduced, and we have also added a section called registration cancellation reasons, where we list some of the reasons that may lead to the license to be cancelled before its expiry date. Some of these reasons are if the quality assurance certificate or quality management system certificate is expired or invalid, if the medical device is subjected to a recall or caused a serious adverse event, if the CR gets expired of the authorized representative, and other reasons which you can read from the guideline available on the website. The new application form has been entirely redesigned to be the one document that includes the new registration applications form, renewing, variations, and to include the requirement checklist for each process. Bundling applications, which are basically new applications, will also be through the same form as there is a bundling table attached to the form. The form can now be filled digitally, and it is published in 2 languages in the same form, which are Arabic and English. All fields should be filled, and the form should be signed and stamped by the authorized representative electronically. Okay, so for the new requirements. The physical manufacturer and authorized representative letter is a new requirement. Free from pork derivatives letter kind of was there before, but now it's clearer. The verification is now added as a separate requirement. It was included before with the QAC and QMS requirement, but now it is separated. And classification is now also written as a requirement that we may ask for if there is a doubt over whether the product is a medical device or not. I will explain in more details. Okay, so for the medical devices registration requirements. The first requirement is the artwork. So what is the artwork? Artwork is basically the outer package of the product, as we can see from the picture, with all sides visible, and it contains the label. It needs to include the device name, the unique device identification code, which is, as the name suggests, a unique code given to that device to identify it and eliminate any similarities in the name or model between different devices. The reference number or catalog number are also accepted for this requirement. The artwork should also include the legal manufacturer with full address and the physical manufacturer or country of origin, but this is not mandatory as per international standards. So since the physical manufacturer is not always stated on the artwork, this takes us to the second requirement, which is the letter of physical manufacturers and the authorized distributors. It is simply an official letter issued by the legal manufacturer, and by official letter we mean, as you all know, that the letter should have the full address of the issuers as well as the issuer signature and the stamp. All right, so the letter should also have the full address and the contact details of the physical manufacturers and authorized representative. The physical manufacturer is basically the manufacturing site. The third requirement is the authorization letter, which is also an official letter issued by the legal manufacturer authorizing the applicant, who is the authorized representative, to register, import, and sell the medical device in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Of course, the letter should be valid for at least 1 year at the time of the application. This is if there is a duration to the agreement or authorization. And the medical device or scope written in the authorization letter should match with the applied device. Requirement number 4 is the technical details. What is meant by the technical details? The technical details is the user manual, service manual, catalog. These documents provide us with information regarding the device, like its intended use and technical specifications. It is also required as an evidence to fulfill some of the bundling requirements, as will be explained later by Ms. Saida. The next requirement is the instruction for use. Instruction for use such as the leaflet. Many people mix up between intended use and the instructions or indications for use. Intended use is what the device is used for, whereas the instructions for use is how to use the medical device. And it should be provided in instructions, typically in the sense of points or steps explaining how to use the medical device, such as the picture shown. Moving on to the sixth requirement, which is the list of marketed countries. An official declaration from the legal manufacturer stating the countries that the medical device is marketed in needs to be provided. Sometimes applicants say that the device is marketed in many countries, let's say 50 or 60 countries, and it's hard to list them all. In that case, you can list the most important countries, which are the reference countries, and this would be enough. You can see the reference countries below. You have Saudi Arabia, USA, UK, Australia, and the rest. The seventh requirement is the field safety notice records letter. Field safety notice is the adverse event and recalls. Again, it should be an official letter issued by the legal manufacturer and include the name and model and the field safety notice records affecting Bahrain market in the past 5 years. Okay, let's say that there are no recalls and adverse events on the medical device. What do the applicant needs to do? The applicant needs to provide an official letter with the name and model of the medical device and declare that the device has no field safety records affecting Bahrain market in the past 5 years. Okay, now we'll take the scenario that there was a recall on the medical device in the past 5 years affecting Bahrain market. So does that mean that the device can't be registered in Bahrain anymore? No. It's not like that. NHRA asks for the most recent audit report that should be issued by an accredited and recognized notifying body. And the accreditation body should be an IAF or European Commission accreditation body. From the audit report, NHRA reviews the corrective action done by the manufacturer and notifying body's comments, which helps in taking the decision. The ninth requirement is the list of end users. This is just an official letter from the authorized representative, which in this case is the applicant, and it should mention the current end users of the medical device. If the medical device is yet to be imported to the kingdom, then you can pass this requirement. The 10th requirement is the quality management system certificate. This certificate proves that the legal manufacturer quality management system is as per international standards for medical devices, which is the ISO 13485 standard. So, as explained, should be issued by the legal manufacturer with the same address, and should have the ISO 13485 standard. It should be issued by an accredited notifying body. The scope should match the applied medical device, and it should have a validity of at least 1 year from the date of application. The quality management system certificate can be replaced by the Saudi FDA medical device marketing authorization certificate, which is the MIDMA. But it needs to be verifiable. Number 11 is the quality assurance certificate. This certificate is needed to certify that the medical device quality and safety is in conformity with medical devices international standards, in which NHRA accepts CE Directive 93/42/EEC, which is for medical devices. This certificate needs to be issued to the physical manufacturer with the same address. Unlike the QMS, it should be issued by an accredited notifying body. Its scope should match the applied medical device and should have a validity of at least 1 year. This certificate can be replaced by the American FDA registration certificate. And for Class 1 non-sterile medical devices, a declaration of conformity can be submitted in place of the QAC. A declaration of conformity is an official declaration from the manufacturer in which the manufacturer states that the medical device complies and as per CE standard. Next is the EC design examination certificate, which is only required if the medical device has a risk classification of 2B or 3. The EC design examination is given for the device, not like the QMS or QAC where you have a scope. No, it's given for the device. It should be issued to the legal manufacturer with the same address, with the CE standard, and it should be issued by an accredited notifying body. The medical device name and model should match the applied medical device. All right. Now, before submitting any of the last 3 documents, the QAC, QMS, and the EC design examination, the applicant needs to make sure that they are still valid, because notifying bodies have periodic or regular audits to the manufacturer. So it is often that certificates get cancelled before their actual expiry date. To do verification, there are 2 ways. Number 1 is online through the website of the notifying body. You can find the verification link of most notifying bodies on the NHRA website. And verifying by website is done by entering the certificate number or the name of the manufacturer into the database search, depending on the notifying body. The second way is by sending an email to the notifying body with the medical device details or the certificate details. And NHRA medical device regulation email should be in the mailing loop. If NHRA was not in the mailing loop, the verification email from the notifying body should be sent as an attachment, not forwarded. Number 14 is the relationship letter. It is simply an official letter issued by the legal manufacturer describing the relationship with the physical manufacturer. This requirement is obviously only required if the legal manufacturer is different from the physical manufacturer. All right, so requirement number 15 is the free sale certificate. It should be issued by the competent or the regulatory authority in the country of origin. For example, NHRA is the competent authority in the Kingdom of Bahrain. And it is, as the name suggests, is the ability to sell the product in the country. And it means as well that the product meets the regulation and requirements set in that country. The medical device and model should match with the applied medical device, and it should be valid for at least 1 year from the date of application. Number 16 is the declaration letter that includes the risk classification and the GMDN code issued by the legal manufacturer. GMDN stands for Global Medical Device Nomenclature, and it is a system of internationally agreed terms used to identify medical devices. It provides us with the description and intended use of the medical device. Number 17 is free from pork derivatives letter. This is if the medical device contains animal tissue or medicines, then the applicant needs to provide this letter, and it should be issued by the legal manufacturer, and the medical device name and model needs to match. The final requirement is the classification criteria. In some cases, it might be required to fulfill the classification criteria issued by NHRA Medical Devices Regulations Department, depending on the applied product. At the time of applying, if we think it needs classification, the applicant will be informed to apply for classification to make sure that the product is, in fact, a medical device. Finally, I would like to announce that NHRA have assigned a company called MedSpiro to be the official private agency for fast-track communication and delivery of services for medical devices registration. This means that now if the applicants wants to fast-track the duration of registering their medical device, they can apply through MedSpiro, who will receive their applications and required documents after making sure that all requirements are fulfilled. And then NHRA will have the final review, which will be done on a shorter time frame. For example, let's say the regular time for NHRA to review the application is actually 8 weeks. However, with the help of MedSpiro, we can minimize the time up to half or less, depending on the applications. You can find more details on MedSpiro website, where you can also find their contact details and different ways of communicating, such as communicating by email, by telephone, or even by live chat for any of your inquiries. You can use the same channels to book appointments too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Abdul-Latif. And now we will move to the second part of this presentation with Ms. Saida. The floor is all yours.
Good afternoon.
Need to make it bigger, Saida. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will continue talking about medical device registration. My name is Saida Jabri. My presentation contains how and who can apply for a medical device, how many devices you can submit in one file, the bundling methods, renewal and variation. We will start with who can apply for a medical device. The only registered authorized representative can apply for a medical device registration who have license from NHRA, and they can represent the manufacturer in Bahrain. We will talk about how to apply for a medical device. You can submit the same application form for new application, renewal, and variation. First of all, you should take an appointment through appointee system, fill the application form, and prepare all the required documents mentioned in the form, and submit them electronic copies, not scanned, during the booked appointment. How many devices you can submit in one file? It depends if it is goes under one category of the groups or not. If it is not, it should be submitted separately. The groups divided in 5. One, single medical device, medical device family, medical device system, medical device procedure bag, IVD. The single medical device means same device but have more than one color or one size. Example, contact lens, but make sure it's from the same legal manufacturer, same intended use, same risk class, and same brand name. For the medical device family, it's a group of single medical device with different features. It have also the same legal manufacturer, same intended use, and same risk class. Medical device system. It's more than one device contained together to have to make one purpose intended use. Endoscopy. It have endoscopy camera, monitor, and scopes, surgical tools. It should be from the same legal manufacturer, and also it have to be common for the same use, and have the name that's its system. The devices should be called system. For medical device procedure bag, it's a bag of tools that comes for one single use for one specific procedure. It's the same, should be from the same legal manufacturer, same group bundling, and common intended use. Do not exceed 15 items per application. IVD, the tools that you use in labs, it can be in one application form. For renewal, as we said, you can use the same application form, just choose the right part to fill. You should update us with the details if there is any changes. If there is not, you should provide us with the letter from the manufacturer, declaration that there is no changes. Also, if there is any recalls that affects Bahrain market, you should tell us, or bring a letter from the legal manufacturer stating that there is no recalls recording affecting Bahrain market. Make sure the document you submit in the application first have a validity minimum 1 year. Variation. Please note the major variation or required document for new application should be provided. Fill the device details in the application form. Provide us with a letter justification from the legal manufacturer regarding the variation. Update us with the new variation documents. Example, artwork, if it is changed, you should provide us with the new one. And it's based on the variation or other requirements should be requested from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Abdul Latif and Ms. Saida. And now we will move to the second, now we'll move to question and answer portion of our webinar. Engineer Abdul Latif.
Yes.
So we'll
All
start.
right. So yes. So now we have some questions from the participants that we have received, and we think it might be beneficial to share them and answer them live, so that everybody can benefit. But before answering these questions, I would like to state that the guideline has been updated on the 9th of August, and you can find the latest version on NHRA website. So now I'll just share a presentation where questions are written. All right. So for the first question we have is that in case of recalls or adverse events, the last audit report is required. Is this only applicable to Bahrain market only or globally? And is it for the past 5 years or since ever? The audit report will be required in case there is a field safety notice affecting Bahrain market in the past 5 years. The second question is that in case the manufacturer name changes on the ISO, which is the quality management system, or the CE certificate, what will be the impact? It will be considered as a major variation. So the applicant would need to submit a new registration application. The third question is the risk classification. What are the rules for the risk classification, and is Bahrain setting up their own definition of classification or using the ones of another country? Which one? And the answer is that Bahrain is following the EU risk classifications. Next question is that reference made to acceptable QAC document. Is there an acceptable non-EU document in situations where device is not listed in EU but elsewhere? The only quality assurance certificate accepted is the CE certificate with the medical device or the in vitro medical devices directive. And you can provide the US FDA registration certificate in place of the QAC also. Next is regarding the UDI, the unique device identification. What will be the requirements for the UDI in Bahrain? So far, the UDI is not mandatory in the artwork. And we are working on developing a UDI draft guideline specific for Bahrain, but it will be posted. It won't be posted this year, maybe next year. So it's not mandatory. Next is the QMS ISO 13485 certificate. The requirement for a 1-year validity might be difficult to be met. Some notifying bodies are only issuing certificates for 1 year. For this one, as soon as the QMS is issued for the renewal, then the applicant can submit the renewal of the registration license or certificate. So as soon as the applicant receives the QMS, the renewed QMS, then he can resubmit the renewing for the medical devices registration certificate. The next question is for Class 2B or Class 3. Class 2B is a EU classification, so having an EC certificate could be okay. However, Class 3 is also a classification used in the US, so there might be cases where a product is FDA cleared but does not have an EC certificate. We should still be able to register in Bahrain. Can it be replaced with approval clearance certificate from a recognized body? The EC design examination can be replaced by the FDA registration certificate also. So the QAC as well as the CE design examination can be replaced by the US FDA registration certificate. Next question is regarding the statement in case of recalls adverse event, last audit report is required. We have already answered this question. Next would be, would the declaration letter only include the risk categorization and GMDN code? The requirement which was stated is that the declaration letter should mention the GMDN code and the risk classification. But if the applicant, for example, provides the declaration of conformity and it includes the GMDN and the risk classification, it will be also accepted. What are the timelines anticipated for the variation assessment? The timeline for the variation assessment depends. If it's a major variation, then the applicant would need to apply for new registration application, so it would take around 8 weeks. As for the minor variations, if the applicant has all the necessary requirements, it may take 4 weeks. Next question is that how are standalone softwares going to be registered in Bahrain? Standalone softwares will be considered as a medical device, so it will be with the same requirements. Next is several of the products have dual factories. Does this mean we will have to register twice, or we just have to provide 2 FSC per submission? If the medical device has 2 physical manufacturers, it needs to be applied in one application with all the necessary requirements. That's it for the questions.
Thank you, Engineer Abdul Latif. And now we will start with the raised questions. So question number 1 is, notifying body do not issue a renewal ISO 13485 12 months before. Normally it is few weeks before. How to address this requirement, as manufacturers are dependent on the notifying bodies?
Yes, when the applicant receives the renewed QMS or QAC, then he can apply for renewal of the medical device registration certificate as soon as they receive the renewed QMS or QAC.
Okay. And when is the audit certificate is required? Is it required for well-established marketed product also?
The audit report is required when there is a field safety notice affecting Bahrain market in the last 5 years, and it should be issued by the an accredited notifying body, same as the QMS and the QAC.
And is it required for a well-established marketed product?
Yes, of course. If it has any field safety notice affecting Bahrain market, of course, yes.
Next is, can free sale certificate from country where EC rep is located acceptable instead from the country of origin?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Can free sale certificate from country where EC rep is located acceptable instead from the country of origin?
No, the free sale certificate is only accepted when it is issued from the regulatory authority in the country of origin. But usually also the QAC will be issued to the physical manufacturer, so it should be from the same country of origin.
Great. Can you clarify more? What are the cases which needs classification, and are you talking about a borderline medical devices?
For the classification, you need to refer to the NHRA website for all the classification guidelines and checklists, as it is an entirely different process. But usually, if there is a doubt, if the device is a medical device or a pharmaceutical, then we will have to go through the classification process.
Mm-hmm. Can we submit a variation while there is a pending variation or renewal ongoing, or we have to wait until this life cycle is completed?
No, you can submit more than one application when there is a pending one.
Next is how many applications can we submit in one appointment of new medical device registration, renewal, classification, and variation?
At the moment, it is done through email, and you can submit only one application.
And what will be the validity of the certificate issued by NHRA?
It will depend. It will depend on the validity of the QMS, QAC, the CE certificate, or I mean the AC design examination. So the minimum validity for each one of these certificates is 1 year. But let's say all of them has 3 years validity, then the NHRA registration license or certificate will be valid for the next 3 years.
Great. And what are the benefits of medical device registration?
Benefits of medical device registration is that at the moment it is free of fees. And the second benefit is that it will facilitate the importation process, as most of the importation requirements will be replaced by the registration certificate. And also in the future, it will become mandatory. The devices would need to be registered before being imported, and there will be also fees. So the authorized representative who have many devices and start registering from now will face no issues or delay in importation when it becomes mandatory, and it will be also for free.
Question for Ms. Saida. For IVD bundling, how many items maximum can be submitted per one file?
50 items.
Per one file.
Yes. If it is going under a group of the 5, 50 we can submit.
Great. Next, for Engineer Abdul Latif, what is meant as a variation? If there is a change in a material or new component are added, does such changes need to be submitted?
Variation is, yes, if there is a change, but depends. We have many cases, so maybe I can reshare the slide for the variation. I think it's with the Ms. Saida.
It depends, the variation. If it is major, we will require all the documents, same as the new application. And we need a justification letter from the manufacturer that's the case of the variation. Update of the new document. As I said, like the artwork, if it is changed, we need the new artwork.
Great. Can we have one live question? Svetlana, please.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Nadia Isad from Smith & Nephew. Thank you so much for the presentation. Actually, I have three quick questions, if you don't mind. My first question would be the compliance date for the new regulations. You mentioned that it was published early in August. So when do we expect the companies to fully comply with these requirements and start registering?
At the moment, yes. It's better if we take it question by question.
Yes.
So yes, at the moment the registration is not mandatory, but now we have already opened for applications.
So we don't have defined timelines, like what is the grace period you are providing to the companies?
No. At the moment you can submit, and when it will become mandatory, it's still.
All right, thank you. My second question is exactly what is the NHRA definition for the country of origin? Is it mainly referred to as a legal manufacturer or the physical manufacturer?
The manufacturing site, which will be the physical manufacturer.
Thank you so much. And my last question would be the pre-market approvals that are issued by the US FDA. Does the NHRA accept pre-market approval in an application? Or
No.
you just
If you
require
mean
the
the 510K, no.
So it should be CE mark.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
CE mark or the FDA registered.
All right, thank you.
You are most welcome.
And another question, Engineer Abdul Latif, what is the impact of changing authorized representative? Do we have to register all the products, or we can still use the valid certificate from the old authorized representative?
No, it would need to be new registration applications, because the authorized representative will be changed, and some of the documents will be referred to the authorized representative.
Thank you. And minor variation request takes 4 weeks or more to be accepted. This means we cannot ship the products to Bahrain market. Is there a way to minimize this gap?
You mean if there is a variation?
Yes.
Yeah, when there is a variation, you can still import, but without using the registration certificate in the importation process.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be like like it is not registered in Bahrain.
So
But
they have to.
The variation is not affecting the device itself. Right, engineer?
If the variation, can you repeat, please?
If the variation does not affect the details of the device.
Yes.
Is registered.
Yes.
The 1 year minimum validity of the CE or ISO or both. And usually not both will have the same validity date. So one of them is enough?
No, all of them should have at least 1 year validity.
How can we decide if a variation is reportable or not reportable? Can you give us like a hint, because so many variations are done on medical devices?
Okay, so for variations, it depends on the case. So each case will be different. For example, if it affects the safety and quality of the medical device, it will be considered as a major variation. For example, if the physical manufacturer is changed, then this will be considered as a major variation. However, if only the label or the outer package, the artwork, is changed, which will not affect the medical device safety or quality, then it will be considered as minor variation.
Next question is the requirement of agreement or authorization letter issued by the legal manufacturer to the authorized representative. The agreement or the authorization letter could be issued by the MAH in the Middle East. Example, headquarters in Dubai, since they are authorized by the mother company to represent them in the Middle East.
Yes, that's correct. If there is, for example, a legal manufacturer and there is also another distributor for example, the Middle East, then the legal manufacturer should provide an authorization letter for this other entity, and then from this, for example, the Middle East distributor should provide the authorization letter for the authorized representative or distributor in the Kingdom of Bahrain.
Okay, next question is, can you please clarify what exactly you mean by FDA registration? If 510K is not acceptable, would a certificate of foreign government be sufficient to prove FDA certificate?
No, the certificate of foreign government can cover the free sale certificate. But the registration certificate is something else, and the FDA issue approvals for medical devices as registered in FDA. The 510K is also different.
And regarding pork content, does it mean that product with pork derivatives cannot be registered in Bahrain?
Yes.
Can we make many appointments for registration, or only one appointment one time?
Yes, one appointment at a time. Using the appointee system, you can only take one appointment at a time. So after completing that appointment, then only you can take another appointment.
About the declaration letter issued by the legal manufacturer includes the risk classification and the GMDN code. Could it be declaration of conformity?
Yes, we have already answered this question, that the declaration of conformity can be submitted in place of the declaration letter, but you have to make sure that it includes the GMDN code as well as the risk classification.
Does registration the item stop other distribution from importing the same item into Bahrain market?
No. If the importer has an authorization from the legal manufacturer, then he can import.
So, yeah. Another question, we have approximately 100 applications in IVDs. If we got only one appointment at a time for one application, this is take long to complete the complete of application.
Can you repeat the question, please?
We have approximately 100 applications in IVDs. If we get only one appointment at a time for one application, this will take long time to complete of application.
Yes, that's why we are starting from now the registration. It is not mandatory, but the applicant at the moment needs to submit only one application at a time, to give others also the chance to register their devices.
Engineer Omar, can I ask one more question, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Regarding the change in the authorized representative, so you mentioned that we need to re-register the products. Can I just double check, during the registration process, is the company allowed to import the products, to export the products to the Kingdom of Bahrain while the registration is still ongoing?
To export or?
Like allowing importation to Bahrain while the registration is still ongoing with the new authorized representative?
Yeah, you can import. It is at the moment the registration process and the importation process at the moment is not linked. When the registration, when it becomes mandatory, then for importation you would need to register the device before. But at the moment, the importation and the registration is not linked. It's just that the registration certificate will facilitate the importation process. You will have to provide less requirements.
Thank you.
So now we have reached to the end of our question and answer portion. I would like to thank all participants for being here today. We really appreciate your time and cooperation. We hope you benefit as much as possible from today's presentation. Looking forward to see you in first GCC MedTech Summit. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.